Hi, everyone, and welcome to SPED Homeschool Conversations. We are so happy to have you as part of our conversation as well, if you're joining us live. My name is Peggy Ployer, and I am the founder and CEO of SPED Homeschool. And we, again, have another awesome guest and another great topic. And we hope that you will just dive into this topic with us as we continue our discussion this month on family dynamics. And so our SPED Homeschool Conversations is directed kind of to homeschooling parents who have special needs kids, but we know that our podcast and our videos reach way beyond that. And so we talk about a variety of subjects. And tonight might not be just homeschooling. We're talking about family dynamics, and we're diving into some holiday topics as well. And tonight my guest is Darla Williams, and we are going to talk about celebrating the holidays without compromising your family values. Actually, what you had me add, Darla, was really celebrating the holidays. And I'm excited to kind of dive into that topic with you. So thank you for taking time out of your schedule and joining us tonight.
Thank you. I feel grateful to be here.
Yeah. So Darla is a life coach and a leadership coach, a homeschool mom. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your business before we get started, and just where your passions lie, and then we'll kind of dive into the topic from there.
Yes. The second part, where my passions lie, that's a big one. So we'll just tone it in. So I'm Darla Beam. I am the founder of DB Leadership. And we recently launched, so I do all sorts of coaching all across the board, including parent coaching, teen coaching, and I love the 20s to 30s as well, coaching kiddos. And that, I guess they're young adults, right?
Exactly. But we see them as kids. We're old, right? At least I am.
Exactly. So I do development and leadership development for all across the board. I've done executives and entrepreneurs and all over the place, but this holds a special place in my heart because I have teenagers, and I've raised a teenager. I have a 27-year-old boy as well. I have homeschooled, and I have one kiddo with some learning differences. We recently launched, my partner and I recently launched a youth leadership academy because we have a special passion for leadership at a young age. So what does the question really came through around coaching and developing leaders that were, like you said, are old like us, and have there's like this common thread, right? Like we're learners, and we want to grow and we want to develop, and it's like we're also kind of digging through and sifting through kind of the baggage of the last, several decades of stuff.
Yeah, everybody has to do that. Some people choose not to do it, and I think that may be the problem.
Right. We all have stuff, right? We all have stuff. And so what I got really curious about was like what happens if they get the tools, we get the tools when we're young? Like at first I was sort of like, well, what happens if I had those tools? How would my life be different? And then I got curious about, well, what happens if my kiddos get some leadership tools at a young age? What will shift for them? It's not to say that they won't have suffering. We'll all have suffering. We'll all grow. We'll all develop. I just became really curious about what would it look like to have the tools to deal with some of the issues that arise. And so that's where the Youth Leadership Academy was founded. And so that's a passion that we have right now. We are working with several local schools. We've done some groups, some private groups. We have a nonprofit that we work with the kiddos, and it's really fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. We all need leadership training, whether we are going to lead just one person or we're going to lead a lot of people. But we're all leading somebody. And I think that's a truth that sometimes we don't want to believe. I know my husband's like, he always avoids management jobs just because he doesn't want to deal with the messy stuff of other people. But that's life. And we're all called to step before someone else and lead. So
yeah, we like to teach the kids in the very first session that we have. We define leadership. And at the end of the day, we're leading our lives. They're waking up and they're making choices. We're all, especially, younger teens, they feel like my parents are telling me what to do all the time, so I don't really have choice. I'm not a leader. And we're choosing, right, to get out of bed, choosing to put our pants on or whatever it is. We are still choosing. Leaders make choices every single day, hundreds, if not thousands of choices. So we are leading our own lives. So we talk about leader within and get them grounded to their leader within. So that's kind of the languaging that we start with.
Right. And that transitions really well into our topic because homeschool moms are leaders in their homes. And we have to make some hard choices and to lead our kids in when our kids struggle, we have to make choices that they don't always enjoy to help them to improve. We have to make choices and say to people in the outside realm of our world, like even our own parents, we can't do this. My child needs this. And so we have to really hone in on those skills in that way too. So how would a mom with a child that has specific needs that really struggles with that taking ownership and taking leadership start that process?
So the mom is struggling with the leadership, or she's struggling with the child taking ownership?
Well, I'm thinking about moms with younger kids first,
Mm-hmm.
And just, having to make hard decisions, but yet, maybe even your husband. And I've heard this from some of our parents. My husband doesn't believe that our child's diagnosis is really real. And how do I, start making these choices in the right direction for my child, even though maybe I'm coming up against a lot of opposition.
Yeah, this resonates for sure. This resonates for sure. So so how I would work with the mom, what I would say to a mom would be really get grounded in yourself. How clear are you that this is the path? This is the path, right? Get them grounded to their own within, to their leader within. And then we would probably talk about, what's important about this? What's important about honoring your child's diagnosis, right? What's the value that you honor, right? So we talk a lot about values. Values are the foundation for, there's so much a part of the foundation of leadership, right? So there are 4 concepts that we talk about in the beginning with the kiddos, and that's values are one of them. And there's 2 things. The values are one thing, and the other thing is I would really call them forth into what is it that they actually want to create. So it's not about what's happening right now. It's about what's happening. What do you envision in 5 years? Right? So I'll give you an example. So, Jordan's upstairs and she's 15. She has some learning differences. And so, we, have struggled with some of this stuff. And so I love it that she leans into me. Love it, love it, love it that she needs me. And she just told me tonight she never wants to grow up. And, I love that. There's just such, beautiful innocence in that. And what I'm wanting for her, and there's a part of me that's like, oh, she just loves me. My 13-year-old, she couldn't care less. Right? But that's about me.
Exactly.
Right? That's about me. That's me. So I need to get grounded within. I need to understand, what is it I want for her in 5 years? I want her to be completely interdependent. I want her to be confident, and I want her to know that she doesn't need me, right? But if she wants me or needs to lean into someone, that I'm there.
Right.
So that's in 5 years. So that's my vision that I would create. So what are the steps I'm taking to pivot toward that?
Yeah. And I think as we look at the holidays too, from that perspective and the choices we're making for our family and the things we need to say no to, just envisioning, the memories we want to create too.
Yes.
And start from that memory I want to create, for years from now, for this Christmas, this Thanksgiving, this, Hanukkah, whatever you're celebrating. How do I make sure that, what the big thing that we don't want to remember is a sensory meltdown, at so-and-so's house. And so how can we take steps for that? Yeah, I love that about.
Yeah, and I love the parallel that you made. It's all about that. So the first thing is to get grounded with self. Okay, get grounded within the self, mom. Second is to create that vision, right? What do I envision? And then third is to put that out there, right? Mm-hmm. So I might talk to my husband about it. I might talk to my family about it. I would high probability talk to my child about it and co-create it with them to the extent that they could co-create it, right? So everybody's on board with making this a reality, right? It might not go down exactly the way that I envision,
right?
But those are the 3 steps, right?
Yeah.
And then, and then what happens? And then we have a plan. Like, what happens if there is a meltdown, Peggy? What do we do then? We have meltdowns. It's okay.
Right.
My daughter's, she goes to a school in Dallas, like I said, for learning differences. And our teacher used to say, it's okay to make a mistake as long as you clean it up. And it's been like a mantra, like in my mind, like, it's okay to make a mistake, just clean it up. So we create agreements in advance for how we clean up our mistakes. We have a meltdown, we have an agreement, whatever that means for you, right? But we have the agreement in advance, so it's something we can recover to.
Definitely, yes. And knowing that, knowing ahead of time that things may come in that we didn't plan for, because a lot of times, like especially kids on the autism spectrum will have social stories, and I can see how having that plan can then allow you the ability to build those social stories. This may happen when we go to Grandma and Grandpa's house, and these are some smells I know you don't like. And so this was the thing with my middle child was sausage. Hates the smell of sausage. And so to give him an out plan, when there was sausage being made in the house, you can go into the entryway of Uncle Paul and Aunt Carol's house where it doesn't smell, and play with the dogs or do this while the sausage is being made. So then when you come back in, it's okay. There's a lot of that, but realizing too that getting to that point of that dream may have some detours. And I love that. So, so just if you are watching, we love that you're with us live. We would love you to be part of our conversation. So definitely put your comments, your questions in the feed. And also we want to thank A Reason for sponsoring us in this broadcast. And we'll hear from them about halfway through the conversation about some of their spelling product. But anyways, we would love to have you join us. Give us some examples of what you're really having a hard time either planning for this holiday season or just being bold with family members, especially when it comes to traditions. I know we hold really tight to those, especially as generations have done things for so long. How do we even approach that? That this might need to change, or maybe just for our family, this needs to change. I don't even know how I'd start giving advice on that.
Yeah. So do you have an example?
So say your child has a gluten intolerance and, there's certain foods that need to be differently if we're going to join for Christmas, or that I need to be able to bring my own food for my family. A lot of times it's multiple people within the family. I know in our family, when I cooked for last Christmas, we had corn allergies, we had gluten allergies, and what was the other one? I was making a lot of food that was really strange, but that's normal in my family, and we just go with the flow. But for someone that doesn't deal with that and maybe even thinks that it's just a bunch of junk science, how do you even get to that point of saying, this is something our family needs, and this is what we do?
So I'm laughing because this is also so relevant for me and our family. So I started to feel a little bit heavy. To be honest, like I started to feel a little heavy even as you were describing it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So just noticing that comes up. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I just need to stop.
Yeah.
I just need to stop.
Yeah.
Okay. And my acronym is actually STOP. S-T-O-P. So stop, take a breath. Okay. And O is own, like own my impact. My impact is I'm already making up a story about what you're saying, Peggy. I'm already making up that my mom is going to, be upset that the butter doesn't have dairy in it. And, my brother is going to make up that this is not, a real allergy or whatever. So I need to own that impact. That's a story that I'm making up. Okay. And P is sort of like processing that, which we just kind of did. Or if I can't get over my story, then I'm just going to pause and not do anything, because I can't start to create. I cannot create until I've processed. Otherwise, I'm creating from the drama. I'm no problem with solving drama.
That is so true. And that takes you a direction you don't want to go.
And I'm just like what I was doing. I was a victim. I was a persecutor, my brother. And, I'm all over this drama triangle. So I stopped. As you were talking, I just stopped. I took a breath. And now I'm just going to sit again and imagine, what do I want to create? Like you said, this is about tradition. What's the value? Why is tradition a value? For us and our family, a tradition is a value because for several reasons. But one of the main reasons is because I read somewhere that children remember their childhoods primarily based on traditions. Like I'm going to butcher this, but the negative memories go away. And children tend to focus on the traditions. Okay. So I would say the holiday season, the traditions are very important for that reason. I want them to have memories, positive, powerful memories. So that's what I'm aligned to. Okay. So for me, that looks like connection, and it's not so much about the food. Right. It is about the food. It is about sitting, and it's about eating. But the value isn't really what we're eating. The value is being in connection and in community and making those memories as tradition. Right? So I'm backing into it. You kind of see how I'm yeah. So and I would make up about you. I mean, I don't know you that well, but I would make up about you that, and the way you're nodding your head and smiling, like, yeah, that resonates for you. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. We've tweaked and changed so many recipes, just based on family needs, and actually sometimes they come out better. I'll have to let you know that cranberry relish tastes better made with honey than it does sugar. But you don't realize those things until you are willing to take the step to change. And we can't force people to change. And I think sometimes we think that we have to make the determining factor for other people too sometimes. And what I'm hearing from you is, yes, I can change what's in me. I can change how I perceive it. I can change how I plan for it. But I can only go so far with helping others get there.
Yeah. So all that is just really the prep work for what's next. What's next for me and what's next for my family and for my kiddos. So once I stop and get grounded within, and I'm clear on what exactly is I want to create, I may or may not go out into my family of origin, my larger family system, or whoever we're going to spend time with this holiday season. And I may share that vision with them, and I may ask them what vision they have. So now we may have a vision that I'll find the intersection of our visions and see where we're aligned, see where we're intersected. Okay. And really speak to that. So it might look like, oh, Peggy, I'm excited to come to your house, for Thanksgiving. What are you really looking forward to? And you would say,
oh, just family being together.
I'm so glad that you said that, because connection is so much the intention that our family wants to create. And, in the past, it might have been about food or other things, but we're really getting honed in on what is important. And I love that you and I are aligned in that. I'm curious if you and I could make an agreement, could talk about an agreement. Would you be open to talking about agreements?
Sure.
One of the things that's really important in our family, another value besides traditions and connections, is health. It's actually at the top of our family values. And we're focusing on health this holiday season. I think you know that already. We've talked about that. And I might also ask you, does health fall on your value system or whatever, so we can connect there. And I would say, we're really going to try a few different things in terms of food. And I'd really love to have your support. Would you be willing to support our family in that, Peggy?
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So Olivia is actually my 13-year-old. She is actually we found out she's allergic to cane sugar, which is in almost everything. And of course, also she's allergic to gluten. So I know that you love to bring, pies and stuff like that. And I love that. I love your pies. I've eaten them in the past. Of course, I can't eat them now. But I was just wondering if it would be possible for you to just maybe, support Olivia in not consuming the cane sugar this time, just this Thanksgiving. Would you be okay with that?
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Thank you. She's really done a great job the last few months, especially since she's gotten the blood results back, and she's had a few problems, but she's done awesome in recovering. And so I really want to encourage her, and it'd be helpful to have the whole family encourage her as well. And, maybe acknowledge her. She's done a great job.
I love that, how you're bringing the other person you're talking to into the issues you're dealing with. You're saying, this is the struggle, but you're sharing it in such a relational and easy way, versus this is the issue we have and you've got to own it. You're almost inviting them in. Would you be part of this struggle with us, but in such a way that it's not confrontational, and it actually makes that person want to be helpful.
Yeah, and I want you to be a part of this. I see you. I love you.
Yes, exactly.
And I care about you, and I care about her. And I know that if I can transcend my own stuff, if I can stop and handle my own, get connected to my leader within, I know I'm imagining you, as one of my siblings or something, right? And if I can, like I said, transcend my own stuff, process my own crap, I can get you connected with her. And I know she loves you, and she would love to have your support. That would help her normalize this whole thing. Right.
Yeah. Well, and when we are with family in the holidays, they family just, they do want to do good. It's just sometimes they just are uninformed and they've got so many other things that they're dealing with on their own too. And so, even as, you're talking, I'm thinking I would, love to invite whoever I'm talking to about, sharing the issues. Is there anything that our family now can do to help with your issue? Anything that you're struggling with or need support with while we're together? Is one of your child, going through some depression issues? Can I encourage them while we're together over Thanksgiving dinner? as families, we don't talk enough, I think. My family tends to be on the other side of that, as we talk a lot. And all of our children have special needs. And I have 10 adopted siblings, all with special needs. And it's mass chaos. So, and everybody knows everybody's problems. But oftentimes that's not the case. And we often close off, this is what's, going on with my family. And we try to show up to family gatherings with everything all together. And, as we've been having this conversation, I think the one thing that has really resonated with me is we got to have these conversations before we get together with our family and connect and be purposeful, not just planning the dinner, but planning how we can be better family with one another.
Yeah, I cannot tell you what we ate 5 Thanksgivings ago.
Exactly.
I couldn't tell you that. I can tell you what was going on with my sister-in-law. I can tell you what was going on and with my mom. I can tell you what was going on emotionally with pretty much everybody. Not what we ate, though. Because those are a part of the memories. Those are a part of the traditions. We're relational. We're human beings. We're relational. That's who we are. And so I love this. What you're pointing to is it's about handling my stuff and then connecting with other. It's handling me, connecting with self, and then connecting with other and creating those agreements. That's the bottom line. Creating the agreements in advance. And again, so I would end that conversation with, okay, great. This is a great agreement. And, if we go off the rails about this or about anything else, how can you and I make an agreement to recover to each other? It might not even be about that. It might be about mom or somebody else. How can we make an agreement? So now, because we've done this vulnerable conversation and we're in a place where we're really connected, now how can we go a little bit deeper and say, if something happens, how can we, and I don't mean go into drama and gossip, I just mean lean into each other authentically and create. Like, whatever, I don't know, whatever this is. Somebody's melting down. Okay, we might look at each other. We might, go off and talk about how to handle it, or we just might not do anything, but just know we have each other's backs. It just kind of depends. We talk about that, right? So, and that creates a much stronger container. We like to talk about container for the whole event, whatever that is. If it's dinner for Thanksgiving or, crazy, holiday presents or whatever, we're creating a container. The home is part of the container or wherever we're gathering, but this relational, these agreements are part of the container. The container is what holds the people. It's what holds the traditions. I'm holding my hands up. You guys can't see it, but think about what agreements do you have to hold the container, right? And if we're not talking, if we're just getting together and drama starts to happen, we have a leaking container. Stuff is leaking out, and then we have a mess, right, that we have to clean up. Which is fine too sometimes, right? That's fine too.
Oh, just definitely. Yeah, I want to dive into a little bit more of that in our second half an hour, definitely, because just, like long-term family conflicts that maybe aren't going to resolve in one conversation. But we're going to hear from our sponsor, and then we're going to come back and dive into that subject and a lot more. But we would love your comments and questions too, to be part of that. So definitely be thinking about how you can join in on our conversation if you're viewing with us live. And we'll get back to that conversation in just a minute. So I'm going to give Darla just a break here, and we'll hear from our sponsor at A Reason For. We just want to thank A Reason for being part of this broadcast. Actually, for this month and next month, they're sponsoring all of our broadcasts. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about A Reason For's spelling program and just how amazing it is, especially for children who struggle. A Reason For Spelling is built around the latest research on how kids learn to spell. This isn't a dull rote or memorization of years past. Parents tell us their kids actually enjoy spelling more than ever because it seems like play instead of school. While it's true the lessons are fun and stimulating, don't be fooled. There's a serious science at work. The simple placement test assures your child starts at just the right level. Each lesson includes multisensory activities for auditory, visual, and tactile learners. So all of that's built into the curriculum, so you don't have to think about that yourselves. You'll also find special teaching insights, discussion prompts, and much more in the teacher's guide. For lesson placement and teaching info, make sure you visit them at areasonfor.com. And so definitely a lot of things to try out there before purchasing the curriculum, just to see if it's a really good fit for your family, which we always recommend. So just visit them at areasonfor.com to find those resources. And we thank you, A Reason For sponsoring this broadcast. So we're going to bring Darla back and continue our discussion about how we can really celebrate the this holiday season and without compromising our values. And that's sometimes really hard, especially if we've been beaten down. I know I have a friend, and I want us to start this out, Darla, because I know you said bring in some examples. So I have a friend that I talk to on a regular basis. Major issues, divorced parents, people taking sides. And she's to the point where she said, I just don't even want to deal with the drama anymore. And yet she goes, but I do want to get together with my siblings. I want to show up, but I need to set boundaries, but how do I do that? That was her last question to me. And that is difficult when you've got longstanding things that are beyond your own control, that are happening with family members. And how do we even start the process? I know one of my team members too said there's major drinking issues with some people in her family, and she doesn't want her children to be exposed to all of that. Yet there are times where it isn't happening and they can spend time with grandma and grandpa, but yet it means leaving a lot of holiday celebrations very early. So there's these external factors that sometimes come up when we're around extended family that we can't control, and that are just made by other people's poor choices. And how do we build those boundaries to make safe spaces, yet at the same time show those people that we do love them?
Yeah. So that was a lot. I like it.
Dig out whatever you want. I guess that's a lot.
So the drinking thing, I want to say, first of all, that was your friend or the other person that you were talking about. That's a great boundary. She's already, they're going to the events and she's leaving early. That's a great boundary, right? And she may or may not, depending on the child's age and the appropriateness of the situation, start having conversations about, this is just a boundary. Another idea is to potentially offer to host the event at her home and do it during the day or in the morning and have like a brunch. Those are just sort of some, sort of tactical things. Now your friend who said it's just out of control, that was just kind of the drinking conversation. Your friend that said it's just out of control and she's just not even sure how to move forward. Do you have any examples around that? If you're able to share?
Let's see. More so just that when family gets together, because they're all from out of town, it's all these things are scheduled, one after the other. And she said, my adrenals can't keep up. I have to go and rest. And I have to say, I can't make it to that particular outing. And it's almost assumed that everyone is going to do everything together because they have this short period of time together.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that she's taking a break. And what I'm wondering and I'm curious about is what are the agreements that have been made? It sounds like there's an assumed agreement. And
exactly. And I think a lot of family relationships are assumed agreements that we don't even realize we've mentally made.
They're unconscious agreements, right? Mm-hmm. And she's starting to make the agreements for herself, but it sounds like there's some ambiguity in the space about maybe she feels like she's being judged, or the rest of the group isn't sure, or maybe she's making up a story that they're upset with her because she's not there. And, so again, stop, handle her stuff. Is she feeling guilty? Is she feeling upset? Is she making up stories about them? Process. Stop, take a breath, own her impact, process, P is process your stuff. Now I can come at it clean. Okay, 35 people who are all coming together for this week. What value are we honoring? What's important here for all of us to get together? Oh, it's to connect and relax and have fun. Great. Does everybody feel relaxed doing 97 things over the course of 3 days?
Exactly.
Perfect. That's great for you guys. That's not the value. I don't. And we already said the value is to connect and relax and have fun. That's not what works for me. So I'm going to take a stand for myself. And often what happens when I take a stand for myself in boundaries is that then other people are like, wait, what? I can do that too? Hold on a second. Right, that's real leadership. That's clean. I'm coming at it clean. I'm not judging you. I'm not making up a story about this whole system. I'm checking with myself and handling me and then making a container, right? I'm getting clear about what the container looks like and building from there.
Well, I think a lot of times as we grow up, those family assumptions are things we take from our childhood that our parents may have built in out of guilt or just, you have to do this because we're going to grandma and grandpa's and, you have to, clean your plate or whatever the family rules are. And then you carry those into adulthood and you don't even realize you're doing it. And then you share it with your own children without, any thought. And I love that, just that you can stop that by just being real and being open. And then other people in your family can see that and go, oh, your siblings may be going through the same thing and not realize they have a choice as well.
And my kids too. Yeah. And here's the thing, because our kids are watching us. And I don't know if your friend has kids or not. And probably most of your viewers do have children, right? They're getting it on some level. And most of us can work on our boundaries. Most adults I work with, they have a challenge with boundaries. Somewhere in their life, they have a challenge with boundaries. They may be conscious of it or not conscious of it, right? So there's an opportunity to have a conversation with the kids and say, there are 97 things going on this weekend. Our value, we've already decided, is relax and have fun. So we're picking 17 of those things. And, here's why. Because I want to have boundaries and I want you to have boundaries. Good fences are what makes good relationships. When we don't have good fences, we don't have good neighbors because we can't keep, the people out that, the stuff out that we don't want. And then they don't know when they can come in or not come in, to use the metaphor of an actual real fence, right? Boundaries are like fences.
Yes. Now, here's the flip side. I have a child on the autism spectrum who likes to build fences. And there are some that we have to say need to come down. And again, approaching it, I think the same way. I like your opinion though, just to say, this is our family value, and, just a game night. You have to get away from your computer and spend some time with family and watch a movie with us, play a game, a board game, not on a computer, and spend some family time.
Yeah, I'd back you up just a little bit. And I would ask you where did that agreement come from? Did y'all come to that together? The value, this is our family value. Like you get to choose the family value. We have the same thing, by the way. Like we have a cell phone basket. The kids have to put the cell phones in the basket in the house, right? And the reason is because the value is connection and being together and not staring all the time.
Exactly.
So we created that together because we all know that that's a family value. The execution, that would be where my question would be. Did you all create that together, that it's going to be a game night? Or
Right.
was
And usually when my son gets home from college, we decide what's going to happen over the break that he's home and everybody's together. And then from there, we kind of plan it out as to how that's going to happen. So he knows that it's coming, and usually he has no issues with it.
Yep.
But I know I've talked to families that they're like, I can't get my child away, but I love that. Yes, you do have to pre-plan.
You pre-plan because now you can, just like you just said, you can point back to the agreement you already made together. Not I dictated you have to put your cell phone in the cell phone basket. We as a family want to connect, and it helps us to have our cell phones in the basket. So it's not about me and my ego. It's about the agreement we already made, and the agreement is based on a family value. So it's this planning in advance, it's thoughtfulness in advance, and with many of these things, right? And it's again, it's like it's in advance, but I'm planning to something in the future. I'm always like, what is this going to look like in 5 years if we just are all always staring at our phones? What is our relationship going to look like? And conversely, what will our relationship look like if we're playing games and taking a break? Right? What are they going to remember? The video game or playing board games together?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really hard for people who are not planners and just want to do things on spur of the moment, which my husband is very much like that. He's like, we're going to set up the tree on the day after Thanksgiving, but it never happens at the same time. And it's kind of like, okay, everybody come now and decorate the tree, and no one ever shows up because it's not planned. And then he ends up doing it himself. But yes, that's just something that you just have to, I think, understand.
Yeah, and you know what I've done too, because I've got one of those as well. I get a big whiteboard, and we all contribute to the whiteboard. So, so we're human beings. We're visual. So we write agreements on the board. We do it for vacations. We do it for we do it for holidays. We'll write on the board like, what do we want to get out of this? What happen to have that happen? And then we may or may not have a schedule. This needs to happen on, Thursday. And it doesn't always, it's not always like.
Right. Somebody can get sick and there's life happens.
But like, Thursday we're going to eat with family. Friday we put up the tree, let's say around, morning time. So, does anybody have anything going on Thursday night? Oh, you guys want to watch movies? Like, great. Just remember, we've all agreed we want to do the tree on Friday morning. So, so just remember that. So it's kind of just a, constant dialogue about, and I think the visual helps, like the whiteboard helps. It helps everybody get clear. It's right there. We're all seeing.
Yeah, we painted one whole wall in our kitchen in one house with a blackboard. And it was awesome because it was always there. We always ate in the kitchen and everybody saw it all the time. So yeah,
that's great.
A good reminder. Yeah, definitely. So, if you're watching and you have a question or anything you want to bring into this conversation, definitely do. I think we talked about boundaries and guilt, and that was one of the questions. Let's see. I'm trying to think of other examples as far as, I guess there's a lot of things that we can bring into the holiday season, and maybe even just old memories, old hurts. And, things maybe not have handled that we wanted to look the way they ended up with our children or even in our own lives and our youth, and processing those as, this doesn't define what's going to happen this year. How would you say that what would you say to somebody that, came to you with this, catastrophic, I don't even want to celebrate the holidays. I think I've heard that before from people, and they just want to skip the whole thing. It just has so many memories that they just don't even want to bring back. Maybe it was a divorce that happened, over the holiday season, or a child that died. moving past that for the future and not letting those memories stop you in your tracks.
Yeah. So there's something that needs to be processed here. So I would just ask the person, are you willing to process it? Like there's a huge boulder. Like I can see like this path of like fun and happiness and excitement on the other side. It's really the willingness and the commitment to climb over the boulder or move it or go around it. But that takes a little bit of effort. So that would be the first place that I would start, because some people, Peggy, don't want to. They just don't want to, right? And others do. We talked about this earlier, right? So that would be the first place I would start at choice, and because if we start at a place of, well, what do you really want? They might just say, I just want to avoid the holidays. Okay, great. I just want to avoid it. And, what are you stepping on? What value are you stepping on by doing that? Well, I might be stepping on family or, connection with others, or, being alone or anything, right? So it is a choice. And then, we would probably do what's coming up over here is like, we would do some work on forgiveness. We'd do some deep work on forgiveness, like really go into it and process it, to be honest. A good place to start, and I'll tell you this, I've used this a ton, is the Book of Forgiveness. I hope that's okay that I can put that into the space. The Book of Forgiveness, and it's by the Archbishop Desmond Tutu. And it is brilliant. I love it because it's talking about Africa and apartheid, and it's giving these examples that are very extreme, that were horrific. And they brought an entire country to peace to a greater or lesser extent through this forgiveness work. So it takes you, pretty deep. Forgiveness of self and forgiveness of other. And for me, it helped me put into perspective, the forgiveness work I had to do in comparison to, the suffering of an entire country. And there are many work, there's a lot of books out there and a lot of really great resources.
To bring it out in the open, that's the boulder, is the unforgiveness. It's the thing that you have to get past first before you can even start to celebrate, because it's what's holding you back, definitely. And it requires effort. Truly.
It does require effort. And people are like, well, that's just so much work. It's like, well, how much work is it to go to your family events and suffer, or sit at home and be alone? It's like you and I were talking earlier, sometimes we have decades of, stuff to unpack. And it's like, I'm carrying it on my back anyway. So, and it's weighing me down. I've got the boulder on my back. So, it's really just a choice of, when do I want to put it down?
Oh, yes. When? Exactly. That's exactly it. Because either you're going to get to a point where it's become too heavy and you're going to collapse, or you just finally say enough's enough.
And here's the secret, is that if my kids see me carrying that boulder around, there's a high probability they're going to carry their own boulder around. It may be the same exact boulder, or it may be a different boulder, but that's what they learn. And so if we're talking about parenting here and parenting kids, any kids, right? They are watching what I do. So I am always asking myself, am I modeling this behavior? Do I want to see her in 20 years carrying that boulder around in her back?
Right.
Usually the answer is no.
We want our children to be free and, not duplicate the mistakes that I made. And unfortunately, we do that without even thinking, that we are. And I've asked my children for forgiveness for many things, because after you learn, you go, oh my goodness, I've carried you along on this. And I'm like, so I sit my kids down. I'm like, okay, this is what I just learned. You got to realize that this is where I screwed up. I don't want you to do the same. I'm bringing it out in the open. And my boys are like, oh, Mom, again. But they need to hear it. And, because when they go through struggles of their own, which my oldest went through a major thing a couple weeks ago. And when we were dealing with it, we go, you know what? It's life. Things like this happen. And he had such a hard time forgiving himself for it. And I just said, move on. Got to move on. And learn from it. Just know that it's something we told you and you were ignoring us about, and now it's out in the open. So hallelujah. But as a parent, that's how I have to perceive, myself and my kids, is at least it's something I see instead of something that I don't see.
Yeah.
Because we all have baggage.
Yep.
And
I like to tell my kids, I'm doing a better job than my parents did, and you'll do a better job than I'm doing. That's just evolution. That's just a way that it goes. And, I'm going to mess up. And the reality is I don't know what I'm doing any more than anybody else. And we're all trying to figure it out. That is the secret. And it's the reality, right? I'm not perfect and I'm not trying to be. And, I just very much like you, I love that you go to them and you ask for forgiveness, right? Because that's you being vulnerable and modeling what you want them to be, right? Forgive themselves, be vulnerable, clean the mess up. Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
And we can't just get stuck in it. And there again is that boulder and allow our life not to happen because of something that we've done to mess. We all mess up. We have to just get over ourselves that we're not perfect and that you're not going to look like everybody's Instagram or Pinterest, board and all of this.
It's a choice. It's a choice. Like, you don't have to, but you can choose to carry that boulder, or you can choose to do something about it. It comes down to choice.
Yeah. We've got a comment from one of our viewers. I'm going to try to bring it up here. Angela Marie says, what would you recommend someone do in the moment when someone does try to start conflict during a holiday get-together? Maybe someone you didn't have a chance to have a previous conversation with, maybe questioning your choice to homeschool or talking politics. Oh, isn't that stuff that always comes up during the holidays?
I love it. So you're going to hear me say this over and over again. Stop. Take a breath. What is coming up for me? STOP, own my impact. What's coming up for me inside? When I see the homeschooling thing, I was like, okay, yeah, that one I've got. And then I saw politics on that. I'm like, ooh, oh, that's a big one, right? So already I'm building up a story. Notice it. It's okay. I can let it go now. It's fine, right? Even just reading this, I'm sort of imagining myself in the situation. Right. So the next thing is I can really reframe this and go, instead of, I can go, oh, you know what, Peggy? I actually love conflict. I love conflict. And here's why. Because conflict is an opportunity to go deeper and create greater intimacy. And I'll give you an example. So we had a youth group, and both my daughters run a youth group, and so we took all the moms decided to go on a cruise. So we had all the moms and all the kids on a ship together for 7 days. Wow. Right. So we're locked up and we're women, and there's just stuff going to come up. And I love my co-leader because she was like, I don't like conflict. And I was like, I love conflict. So it's fine when it comes up. She's like, okay, you handle it. And by just kind of creating that agreement with us together. So I don't want to downplay co-leader. I think it was Angela who asked this question. So I had for that example, I had a co-leader. And we leaned into each other and we knew what each other's strengths were. So never downplay that, ever. That any any situation, a vacation, a dinner, a whatever. Angela, you said if you don't know, if you don't know the person, you didn't have a chance to talk to them in advance, you didn't know that they were going to bring up this conversation, that's okay. Maybe you've already talked to your sister or, your brother or somebody. You have a co-leader to lean into. That's the first piece.
Yeah, because you know those family members who are probably going to be coming at you with,
maybe I just have a strong connection to my sister. She and I we have a strong connection, and so we have agreements in advance. So I know she's got my back. And the second thing, I'd be like, oh, okay, great. They brought up homeschooling. They're questioning my capacity to homeschooling. I want to hear more about this. Like, why do you think homeschooling is not a great idea? I'd love to hear more about this. This has nothing to do with me. Nothing. You know why? Because I've processed my crap. And this has nothing to do with me. There's my business, your business, and then some greater power's business. This is not my business. But I'm curious to hear what you have to think.
Well, and it brings out into the open more of what they have issues with, because I think we feel like as an attack versus just a misunderstanding that a lot of people like confrontation. My mother is that way. She just loves to have an argument. And so I know that I just send it to my brother who likes to argue too and say, I'm just no part of this. And I walk away, and it frustrates her beyond belief because she's like, I wanted an argument with you. And I'm like, no, it's not happening. So, and
I look at that as like, how they're upset about homeschooling. Usually 99% of the time, I like to say, we're never mad about the thing we think we're mad about. So I love you, and I really want to hear what you're really upset about. But you need to vomit out this stuff about homeschooling. Great. Then I'm gonna really ask you some hard questions about what's really going on with you. And I bet it has nothing to do with homeschooling. And in that way, I can love you, embrace you, and be exactly who you are.
I thought as you were talking about that, do it in love. Whenever you do anything in love, people know that you're not trying to be mean back to them. You take their stuff, like you were talking about, and realize it's not a judgment on you. It's a judgment on things that they just haven't come to resolution with. And you can't make that choice for them. You can help lead them in the right direction. What do you say? You can bring a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
And that's not even on my agenda. My agenda is love and connection, and bring on that conflict. And I want to back up and say, like, STOP, yes, before STOP, like, take care of yourself. Do things that, honor your values, your value of your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health. I know in the past when I've hosted here and I ran around and all the particles, making sure the house was clean. Nobody cared. Nobody remembers how clean my house was 5 years ago. I worried about whether the turkey was right or, whether the kids were, clean. Nobody remembers whether my kids were clean 8 years ago or whether they had a bow in their hair. Nobody cares. But they remember how they felt in my house. They remember this strong container. And my kids' friends will tell you the Beam House is a place where everybody's accepted and loved. We don't allow people to talk drama or gossip about other people. This is a safe place for everybody. It's a place of love. And that's not just when their friends come over. That's when the family comes over. It's not to say that drama doesn't come up. It's how we handle it. And I'm able to do that because I don't worry so much about the particles anymore. I don't worry whether the turkey is perfect or my hair is a mess like it probably is right now. It's not about that. Nobody cares about that. Right. Nobody.
Yeah. Exactly. And yeah, if we get to a frantic point in not taking care of ourselves and getting overstressed with all the holiday extras, we will not make the choices that we want to make that will lead to the pictures and the memories that we want to create. I mean, I'm bringing this back to where we started, and so it's so true. You have to be in the right frame of mind and be rested and really ready for.
So it goes right back to the beginning of choose. I choose me. I wake up that morning and I do something to take care of me and choose me, whether that's journaling or taking a bath or going, exercising or walking or taking 5 minutes of just quiet time. Choose yourself, parents. Choose yourself first.
Yeah.
And then we can create whatever it is that we want to create.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Darla. I'm going to bring up your website just so people can find your resources. It's darlabeam.com, and you can connect with Darla there. And you have a lot of resources on there for leadership, for parenting, for just a lot of things that definitely are of a good resource for. And so thank you for this conversation. This was awesome. I really enjoyed this conversation and all that you brought out, and just encouragement, especially for those difficult situations that we often find ourselves in the holiday season. And that was definitely the point we wanted to get at and to share with our parents. So thank you for being that conduit tonight.
Thank you for allowing me to be here. And remember to stop and breathe. Everybody just stop and breathe. Have a great evening and holiday season.
Yeah, definitely. And we want to thank A Reason For again for sponsoring this broadcast. And definitely you can check out their website at areasonfor.com. And so next week, we are continuing on with this family dynamics theme, and we're going to be talking with Anita Gibson, who is going to share with us on how to unify your family. And Anita is just a joy. I met her at a conference a month or so ago, and she is an author, a speaker, and just has a lot of really good resources too. It's amazing. I learn so much on these broadcasts every week, but we'd like to keep this conversation going with you all week long. And so if you join our support group on Facebook, you can definitely be part of that conversation as we talk about homeschooling, parenting, special needs, and everything else. So definitely ask to be part of that group and join us with that too. So otherwise, thank you for joining us here live tonight or on any of our recorded sessions on YouTube, our podcast, or just the rerun here on Facebook. And we'll see you again all next week. Thanks for joining us, everybody. And thanks again, Darla. Bye, everybody.